my partner and I moved to Europe. We live rurally. The idea was that this would help us live more mindful, intentional lives. But I haven't forgotten about you. I've actually been trying to piece together a collection of interviews with people I really admire. One of the people I interviewed was Professor Dr. Thomas Metzinger. I became a huge fan of his when I read The Elephant and the Blind. And similarly, he actually has a book which comes out today called Bewusstseinskultur. It's my best attempt at a German. All interviews I'll release at the top of next year. Here's a special preview of the interview I did back in April.
I've never talked about this. I've just, in my 20s, I've investigated different spiritual communes, India, and looked at places. And then I got so sick with that spiritual scene and all the hypocrisy and the totally deluded people in there that I just wanted to be alone and meditated for the rest of my life by myself. That was a private affair. I didn't talk about it also academically. And just now with this book, because I thought these people were so bizarre and it's just no group where I could fit in. Or I have tried to. And then backstage, you discover bizarre things you didn't know of as a normal disciple or member of a movement or something like that. And then it's very disheartening, very disappointing. You discover these things about people who you thought were real teachers. But then, so I'm against traditions, teachers, labels, the whole thing. But if there had not been traditions and if there hadn't been retreats, I could not have tried out different meditation techniques. There would have been no place where I could have learned what Vipassana is, And there would have been no ashram where I could go and say, I don't know, this is not my thing here. This is weird. So the traditions and the organizations, even somebody like myself has to admit, they have an important function, I think. They have to transmit the techniques over the centuries so ever new generations of people can learn them and hopefully in a clean form, in a pure form, in a form that is, from teachers that have practiced this themselves and don't just program an app or something like this, so there's this dialectic between really radical and saying, no teachers, no cults, no nothing, pathless, like Krishnamurti said, truth is a pathless land, and then one needs some infrastructure. And even if that radical way of doing it all by yourself works for some, it may only work for some who have the strength to do that. But other people who have already been battered by life or have been deeply hurt or are not so bright simply, normal people, they may actually really need somebody who says, this is how we do it. You sit down twice a day. If you want, we can meet once a week. And I give you a little lecture. And that's where it gets slippery already. I'll give you a little lecture. But an infrastructure must be there, I think, which offers a wide variety of options for different people with different conditionings. And that is something we don't have. I think I'm very concerned. I'm now just in the very end of translating a small book, which we don't have in English. It's called Bewusstseinskultur. And actually what I think is we do need an infrastructure and places where people can go, but where they are not monks who proselytize. Is that the English word? Missionarize?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who don't just want to give this and let people experience this, but, we want to have a following and create a cult and a community. That is something we are really, really lacking in this rich Western world. I don't know if I must say something else. I read I looked at your early videos on YouTube.
Mhm.
I very much like the video about minimalism.
Uh-huh.
Living simply, enormous. And I was exactly the same at 25. At that time, I thought nobody should have more than 800 German marks a month because that's what I had. It's like 400 euros. And I firmly defended the thesis that to have more than 1,000 marks, like 500 euro, is obscene. No human being should have more than 500. And now I have terribly strayed from the path. I don't know how that could happen. I have a house which is cluttered with stuff. If a war came now, the clothes in my cupboards, they would last to the end of my life. I don't need any new clothes ever again, you know. And probably this little vegetable, nah, probably not. The vegetable garden I have. But if there was a real crisis, I could probably, increase it and make it bigger. And now I don't know how it could happen, but I am really surrounded by unnecessary things, like these books in the shelves, uh, which were at one point important, absolutely important in my life, which I will never read again. And what I really, has your Swedish partner told you about the concept of death cleaning?
Yes, she has a video on her channel.
All right. So this sounds so absolutely right to me, right?
Yeah.
48 years of meditation practice, I cannot do. Cannot death clean. And I really should death clean. but, but one part of the problem is you can't even give it away to people because nobody wants it. So, so the thing is, I thought everything you said in your video about minimalism is absolutely right. For instance, I donate 10%, like the effective altruism talks, of my gross income every month, and a little more. I do a little irrational donating sometimes too, according to my own moral intuitions. And I'm not getting into ethics, academic ethics here. This is completely wrong. So my moral intuition is I should go down to something, and I don't know if that's the proper English term, comfortable existential minimum. Is that a word? We would call it like this. Comfortables Existenzminimum. So existential minimum without traumatizing yourself, without stressing yourself, and give away everything else. An interesting thing is, I don't do this after 48 years of meditation, but my intuition is I should actually do this. And I think as long as the state of this planet is like it is, everybody should just go down to what you have described in your video. Go down to existential minimum. That's my intuition. And when I was listening to what you said in that video and agreed with it all, I thought that this is actually a very ancient human tradition. It is the nun and the monk. There have always, in most cultures, been people who, as we call it today, renounce the world, completely withdraw on a contemplative life, whatever that meant for them. Maybe it was also not so contemplative, but didn't own anything, right? That's an old human tradition. Interesting is they were an exit road from the highway of evolution because all these people never had children. Those people who felt attracted to a monastic lifestyle, to a simple lifestyle, almost always didn't have biological children. So these genes always got sorted out. Horniness, greed, striving for dominance. That is what got amplified all the time. And now I'm thinking, okay, now we have wonderful young people like you thinking about minimalism and all this. And we have this old tradition of the nun and the monk. If there could not be something like secular nuns and monks, right? Without, some elaborate Baroque belief system or faith on top of it all, but with practice. And there could be different kinds of practice for different people, but secular, without a belief system, but allowing us to exit the growth model, because that's what we have to do, the economic growth model, finally, and just somehow somebody has to start with a post-growth economy, although the rest never does it, but some people have to experimentally do that and be something like worldly nuns and worldly monks who do that. And why does I don't know if you have any thoughts about it. Do you think this would only catch on if it was a social movement and a cult? It had you as a leader, and it would work.
Um, well, I don't think it would work if it had me as a leader.